going to end up being live. And I guess we are live now. So hello to everybody. Welcome back to the Turnout. I'm your host, Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, so you always know when the Turnout puts out a new video. Obviously, I haven't actually posted anything for about a week. That is due to my severe allergies. You can see the dark circles under my eyes. This is honestly the first day that I haven't been, snotting and all that stuff. You guys don't care about that. I'm sorry. So we just had the newest episode of Charmed called Private Enemy #1, which I kind of dug. I liked because it's usually Public Enemy. So I did actually like the name of it, and Private Enemy. The overall theme of this episode is people feeling inadequate, and I think that they did a good job making sure that everybody felt inadequate in this episode. And again, I like that. I had talked about that in the last episode, that was a thing that I enjoyed with the overall theming of an episode, and just seeing how everybody kind of is all kind of it is a little bit weird because everybody's feeling exactly the same thing at the same time, but also they all have pretty good reasons to as well. So I wasn't too mad about that. I was mad about a few choices that were made in this episode. So obviously we're going to go ahead and do a recap of the episode, and then I will tell you, as we go along. I wrote down all of my notes just like as the episode was going. So actually a couple of them ended up me saying something, and then later on it was like, oh wait, that explains that. So so there were a few things though. So the first thing that we see is that Abby is back, and I'm not a big fan of calling her Abby. I call her Abby now because everybody calls her Abby, but Abigail, be proper. So anyway, so Abby's back, and apparently she's back in charge, which I love because I like her as the pseudo enemy-ish kind of character. I kind of like that. Um, I'm a fan of her in that vein. Like, she needs that. Uh, yes, I know her name is Abby, which is short for Abigail, just for Christian. And hello to Christian and Erica and David, and those are Chrismo. Yes. So hello to the 4 people who have joined in the chat. Obviously, again, if you guys have any comments or whatever, put them in the chat. And then after I go through the recap, or during, if it's something that strikes me at the moment, then I will hit the comments and I'll address everything. So feel free to just fill that thing up, because the more questions and stuff that you have, the longer we'll be here, which I like being here with you guys. So so then she's dragged out of bed, and it looks like the weird thing about her it looked like she was being dragged out of bed, and then after a while it looked like she was falling, like it was like almost like her room had tilted and she was not being pulled out of bed, she was literally falling, which I actually liked that effect. It almost had a dancing on the ceiling sort of. I think that's an old video reference by this point. I guess the latest person to do the spinning room effect would have been Billie Eilish for, I think, her bad guy video, or at least her bad guy performance on SNL. She did the spinning room where the camera stayed in place, but she moved and it looked like she was climbing on the wall and all that stuff. So anyway, interesting stuff. I enjoy that thing. But anyway, it felt more like that. And I'm harping a lot on that. So we should probably move on. So the first thing that we get is the YouTube alien hunter guy, Elliot, which I actually like the fact that they're keeping this a consistent. My notes say, I like that they're keeping him a consistent enemy, because it's great to have reoccurring obstacles. And then, of course, he's out by the end of the episode. But he finds another symbol for them to like kind of track down. And they're like, wait a minute, how is he finding these symbols? So I was like, okay, I like that. Okay, I like this. So how is he finding this? I think my main problem is that the charmed ones they're very aggressive in their ability to blame others for everything. So it's like, they're like, I wonder how he is finding out about these symbols. Maybe he's a thing. Maybe he's summoning him. Maybe he's the bad guy. We need to get down to the bottom of this and stop him. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Why don't you just go talk to him? He's probably just he's probably just a dude. Like, why are you, like, they were flipping out already. And it's like, you haven't even met the dude. like, honestly, I know what it's like to have a YouTube channel. You can get triggered off of just one, video. You know what? How you can learn more about him? Go back a few videos and start watching him and start, that's a good way to figure out what's going on with somebody, especially with somebody who is that obsessed and whatnot. Just go through his video history. You can totally like, oh, this is where his content started to change. Maybe this was when he, started messing around. I mean, it's so easy to do that. And I mean, all of our lives are pretty much on the TV. Anyway, it just seemed weird as somebody who is a YouTube personality, I guess I'll say. I hate the term influencer, so I'm a YouTube personality. Um, I don't like that. It's just like, he said something that I don't like. He must be behind it all. And I'm like, okay, you guys need to calm the hell down. But but Maggie can't go because Maggie has to. I forgot what she said. Oh, she has her volunteer thing. And then Mel can't go because she has a date with Ruby. So now this is where the episode diverges. So we're going to talk about each of the different storylines that they had. And I think I'm gonna avoid trying to just go all in order. I think I'm gonna really try to hit all of the major things. I mean, I guess I could just go in order. That's how my notes are. I should probably just go in order. You know what? I'm just gonna go in order. Uh, but so Macy does get Harry to come along with her because, of course, he'll go. Like, why wouldn't he? So Harry is working on deciphering symbols, and his back is going out. And that I think this was the weird thing for me because his back like just started to go out, and even he seemed kind of weirded out by it, right? Like he was like, "Oh, why does my back is hurting like a lot lately?" And the whole thing, and they've mentioned it a bunch of times. They've mentioned it that like you don't age. And I understand like they seems like they're going with the Highlander sort of thing where like, who wants to live forever? So it's it's he's gonna be like, wait a minute, I'm not even, oh, my back hurts and I'm feeling old. And it's just like, but they're not supposed to age, so he should still just be, like, the same. Like, if he had a bad back now, he should have had a bad back this whole time, so it seems weird. So, what it feels like, and, obviously I could be wrong, but it feels like they're honestly setting him up not only just to feel old, but for him to be possibly aging more. Like we're going to find out that because of all of the stuff that's happening right now, the magical curse, he was in the sanctuary and everything that happened, it could be that something is happening to him because of that. Also, it could be because Jimmy's not dead, but it could just be something maybe Jimmy's doing because if one of them is injured, maybe the other one feels injured. Maybe it's a Corsican brother type situation. So maybe Jimmy is like in Iraq or Vice and like he's having his back broken or something, and that's why Jimmy and that's I'm sorry, and that's why Harry is like feeling the pain in his back because honestly, again, there's no reason for him to be having because he is old, but he's old in an unaging sense, like a vampire or a Highlander. He didn't get old and now his back hurts. So anyway, that's a really weird tangent, but I just wanted to address that because it seems like they're going in some sort of direction and they're playing it off like, oh, we're just doing this to highlight that he feels old, but also there could be an underlying issue with this and why it's coming off this way because there's really no reason for him to have a hurt back now if he didn't already have a hurt back. So the Ruby and Mel coffee date is kind of cute. The friend a friend drops off desserts and Ruby is like, we're just friends. She did ask me out, but we're just friends. And Mel gets jealous. Ruby says, it's cool. Like I want to be with you. And this is part of Mel's insecurity that we have here. Because we're going to see everybody's insecurities. And honestly, these characters are just creating drama for themselves. Like they're like, oh, we have so many issues that we have to deal with. So let's just start adding to that ourselves. Because Ruby's like, no, we're fine. Mel's like, well, I don't know. And, the jealousy starts kicking in. And I actually like the way that it ended because Mel had, well, you know what? I'm not going to skip. I'm just going to no, because there's a lot of blame to go around here for Mel in this episode. So they are creating their own drama though. But I like the fact Abby's, Mel's like, you sure you don't want to go after that? So Abby was in the shop too and is going to ask Mel for help. Ooh, so Abby is the Overlord again, and someone is trying to kill her. Which obviously, if you've watched the episode, we know the truth. But right now in the episode, somebody's trying to kill her. It's an evil spirit that tries to kill her while she sleeps. And and Abby says, like, I can't trust anyone but you. And Mel's like, your affairs are your own. And I was just like, okay, Abby, pull it out. And then she does. And she's just like, okay, well, let me list off all the things that I've been doing for you because you're terrible at your job of being a charmed one. I have become the demon overlord, and I've been keeping the witches in check, and I've been keeping the demons in check, and I've been doing all this stuff, and I've been managing all these things for you. And now and I was the one who went with you to see your own grave and all that. And like, what? Like nothing now? And yeah, I was like, you tell her. What the hell? What the hell, Mel? Come on. Again, you're just creating your own drama here. It doesn't need to be that. So anyway, Mel, I just wanted to point out that both Mel and Ruby were both really pretty in this episode. I don't know what they did differently, but they were just both very pretty. I don't even know why. But I was watching the episode and like everybody looked, their normal self, but yeah, they were both very pretty in this episode. Mel's lips looked a little bit plumper. I don't know maybe she got injections, maybe they were doing, I don't know what they were doing. Also, Abby looked very good. You are correct, Erica. I like Abby with a little bit of messier hair. She was, not that this is like a fashion channel or anything, but she was a little bit more made up. I actually really like her when she's just, Abigail. Anyway, so I skipped a thing here. Hold on. I got to jump back. So Jordan visits Maggie, and we find out that his job is going good. So that's good. But no one showed up for Maggie's movement therapy thing. And he reads the list and he's just like, these are a bunch of fake names. Like, I need a bath and stuff like that. And I'm like, how old is Maggie that she did not, one, read the list of names herself, and two, catch the joke? Like, it would be different if it was like Maggie was some old person who didn't get the joke of funny names, even though like the boomer generation like made up a bunch of these names that have just stayed consistent. It just seemed really odd that Maggie didn't catch this. But also, it just seemed really, really like they were obviously fake ones. But then, like, all of the names are fake, though. No one showed up. And it's just like, wait a minute. You immediately believe that you've been sabotaged, right? But, like, none of the names were real. And there was only fake ones. And it was in the public still, which means only the fake people filled it out. That means no one really, like, if you had enough slots, and I looked at the sheet, there were more lines. Real people could have added their names to it. Like, yes, it got, filled, there were a bunch of lines with with fake names, but they if real people wanted your class, they could have been there. I'm just saying, it just seemed really weird. And then obviously she's like, it must be Antonio, and I hate that storyline. But you know what? It goes in exactly the way that I have all been predicting this entire time. And hello to Jed and Decidius and Mr. Hootie Bean, and I think I missed somebody. Ezekiel. Hey y'all. Thank you for joining. So anyway, I hate the storyline. And yes, I've noticed a few of the comments that Mel is pregnant now, and that's fine. That doesn't necessarily mean that I would find her extra pretty in this episode because we just found out that she was pregnant. They filmed these videos like, pretty much back to back. They filmed the episode, so it's like she should have been just as pretty in the episode before. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like now that we all know that she's pregnant, now she's prettier. It's like, no, like for some reason in this episode, she's prettier. I don't know why. So Macy gets no magic off of Elliot, the dude, when they go visit her. And apparently she like told him that they had been abducted. So he's asking her like, have you been probed? Which was funny, but he does have a magic rock. So Macy makes a distraction with some telekinesis. grabs the rock, and they leave. And the dude gets like super angry, and his eyes go white, and it was kind of crazy. And I was like, where are they going with this? I didn't know. So there's a symbol embedded in the orb after using the microscope, which I was like, okay, that's using science again. I like that they still keep going back to the science part with Macy. I like that because she can't touch it either. So it's like under the microscope, she can't touch it. Um, Let me see. So there's a symbol embedded, and they were wondering how Elliot was locating the symbols. And oh my god! And then they both say maybe the symbols are identifiers, and like they say it like at the same time, and it's kind of a cute moment, but also, what the hell have you guys been researching with these symbols? Obviously, the symbols are identifiers. If you look at the symbol in the lower corner here of the screen, it's a line with 3 lines after it, and then 1 line after it, and a circle, and then a swooping one. If we decipher it, it's ELOY. It could be an identifier. I'm not sure if it is. Yes, it's an identifier. It's my name. So it was really annoying. Like, what the hell are you researching if you're not immediately using these symbols as identifiers? Especially after you've defeated 2 demons and each of them left a symbol afterwards, which would tell you that they are identified by those symbols. I was just very annoyed. I was just very, very annoyed by that particular statement, because these are, I mean, especially Macy as a scientist, because the element symbols and all that stuff. Like, yes, symbols are identifiers. Anyway, I'm annoyed by that. But again, it kind of was a cute moment between them. They're like, "Oh, we work so well together. It's so fun. It's great." So, so Macy's like, "Well, I have to go do some stuff," and then we go Wonder Woman 84 on this episode, and Harry holds the orb and says, "Oh, I wish I had all the answers," and it basically becomes the movie 23, where he's just like, I know everything and I have to write everything down, and it goes kind of crazy. And they keep leaning on him getting old again, and again, it's out of place. And I won't harp on it. So they go, and so Jordan and Maggie are like on their way to go track down Antonio, and Jordan asks the very sensible question, because Jordan is the best character ever, and he says, "Are you sure it's Antonio?" And she goes, "Well, of course it is, blah, blah, blah." And no, but are you sure? Because you're not, and you're stupid. And if everybody saw the thumbnail for this review, it says I'm an idiot. And there's a reason for that. Because not only have I been saying that she's been acting like an idiot this whole time, she says it multiple times in this episode. So he says, like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Brr." And he's like, "All right, I gotta go do a thing." So Antonio has also a thing where you can, yes, hashtag Jordan for president. I agree. So he has like his flyer up, Antonio. So she takes the flyer, because she's decided to use it to destroy him. So she takes the flyer again without checking with Antonio to see if it was actually him, and she casts a spell on it to change the phone number. And uh, and I was just like, you know what? If she knew how to use Word, she could have just remade the flyer. And I think that magic to avoid typing is for self gain and should have negative repercussions, because literally there was no reason for that to be magic. And I mean, honestly, like she should have, like, see, that would have been an interesting way to bring in maybe somebody like Kevin, right? Where you could have been like, "Hey, like, I met Kevin through Mel, and Kevin knows Word, so I'm gonna have Kevin make up, another flyer in place of Antonio's." And then you could have brought this new character that I think we were all expecting this new character to actually have more to do with the show so far. And then she could have had an interaction with Kevin. We could have brought Kevin in more. It could have given him more of a personality. And yeah, anyway. And also, it would have been yet another person to tell Maggie, "Hey, stop doing this. Maybe you don't want to do this." And then she'll just be, maybe if she just had more people to tell her how dumb she was being, then it maybe wouldn't have gone that direction, is all I'm saying. Uh, so let's see. Where is I? Yeah. So using magic to avoid typing is self gain, and she should have warts, or her finger should fall off. Ooh, that would have been interesting. So Harry is, again, it's like the movie 23. He's going crazy. Um, so Macy goes back to visit Elliot, and he has gone blind, and he's got like a hole in the middle of his forehead, which is, he's in bad shape. And this is what I was talking about. I was like, oh man, this would be cool if this was like a reoccurring character and an obstacle for them. And it's just like, no, 2 episodes, it's it. He's done, because I don't he's definitely not going to be an obstacle anymore if he's blind, has a hole in his head and everything. But she's like, hey, he's like, hey, you need to really like help your friend and get the stone away from him. And I was like, okay, that's sensible. So going back to Antonio, because again, I'm trying to go in order that's in the episode, and it does jump around quite a bit. Antonio asks Mass, "Hey, who vandalized my flyer?" It turns out it was a fraternity called the Sigmas who are pranking her and pranking him and everybody. And then she felt bad because she accused him. And you know what? She should feel bad. She should 100% feel bad. I've been saying this from the beginning, that Antonio is not the bad guy. They end up having a discussion with each other where, well, you know what? I'm not going to jump ahead, because that comes after. So I'm still trying to go through stuff. So here was the cool thing about Jordan's job. We jumped to Jordan's job, in that Gata, I don't actually know the actor's real name, but Gata from BSG is the lawyer who Jordan is working for. And I'm like, I'm always happy to see Gata and stuff. He's always really great. But then he learns that he's working for an unethical firm who is representing corporations against the little guy. So now Jordan feels bad. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks, Jordan. That sucks. So Macy then goes back to Elliot. No, I already had that. Okay, I already said that. See, I jumped ahead a little bit, but so Abby calls Mel and says, hey, so they make a deal, right? So Abby and Mel says, yes, I'll watch you with my scrying glass. And Abby's like, well, you could come just into my room with me, flirting with her again. And Mel's like, no, thank you. And I'm like, thank you. Geez. I know that would have made everybody happy. I saw Maria in here. I know it would have made Maria happy. For me, no, not so much. I was not a fan of that. But Abby has embraced her demon side. She will use the one of the 7 sins, lust. That's one of her favorites. She will use it to manipulate people. It is a thing. Let's see. Blind forehead. Okay, so then so there you go. That's that scene. So so the next time that we see Maggie, Jordan comes into safe space and Maggie is drinking at the bar, and she calls herself an idiot, which she is. Jordan drops some knowledge on her, and see, this is the difference between Maggie and Jordan. Maggie took a bunch of episodes to realize that she was wrong about Antonio. Jordan faced the same thing, and immediately he acknowledges what's happening in his life. He faces up to it, and he's like, oh, I'm going to take some steps to fix this. And that's the difference. That's the difference between Jordan and Maggie. And he doesn't need somebody else to come in and tell him, to be wise or whatever. Like, he's got it all. Sorry, I'm just saying, Jordan's the best. But yeah, so Jordan is, he faces this thing. He acknowledges it. He faces up. He's going to take steps to fix it. Remember, Maggie started the scene drinking. Like, if Jordan hadn't come to her, then she would just feel bad for herself and just drink a bunch. And I was like, okay, I think that shows you a lot about the character differences and the character of her. And he confronts her. He's just like, there's this weird thing between us, and I want to be with you and all that stuff. And I'm like, Jordan, no. Can the writers please write in somebody that Jordan can have? Because I think Maggie's done. So she's like, I don't want to, because I just have so much going on in the magical allergies, and just, I need this to be the year of me. I need this to be the year of me. Jordan's too good for her. Stop, Jordan. Just stop it. You'll find somebody. I trust me. You will find somebody because you're Jordan. So Mel is insta stalking Ruby's friend, and instead of watching Abby, which I was very annoyed at because Mel is bad at guard duty. Remember that in future episodes, don't put Mel on guard duty because she's terrible. She will insta stalk people instead of watching you, like the deal that you made. Abby's room is on fire. Mel zaps in there and can't get rid of the force field. So that's where I'm at there. And then it goes to commercial. There were so many commercials again. I'll stop it. I'll stop saying how many commercials there are. Real quick, since it's a commercial break for the show, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when the Turnout puts out new videos or goes live. The last video I put out was my take on the opening sequence of The Flash, which I really enjoyed making that video because it always annoyed me that he would say, I'm just an ordinary forensic scientist. And I was just like, forensic science is awesome. What do you mean ordinary? That's not an ordinary job. You're stupid. Anyway. So Mel is able to get Abby out of the fire. So she agrees to let Abby stay over. Then Ruby shows up and Abby talks to Mel from the back. And I'm like, what? And then Mel gets mad at her. And Ruby's like, oh, I guess you have somebody over. I guess call me whenever you're free. And Mel, instead of saying, well, actually, it's just a friend of mine, kind of similar to you and your friend. Maybe we should talk about this. She goes, well, and then Ruby's just like, whatever then, bye. And I was just like, that was the right move, Ruby. You should just say no. Mel is acting like she wants out. But then she goes back in there and she's just like, how dare you talk to me when somebody's at the door? You did that on purpose. It's Abby's fault, apparently. And then she just like leaves Abby alone. And I'm like, isn't that the opposite of the entire freaking reason that Abby is over there? She's over there for protection. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you pretending like you're going to help her, but you're not actually helping her? Just having her stay in your house is not going to do the thing. It just doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I had a yelling kid in the background. Anyway. So Mel was very annoying. Bad at guard duty and bad at being a host. Blaming everybody for her own insecurities, and it's not cute. So then Elliot tells Macy, blah, 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 blah. So so now we're back to the main storyline. So Elliot had told Macy she needs to get the stone away from Harry. So she does it in like, Harry, give me the thing. Give it to me, Harry. And I'm like, don't you have telekinesis? Just like pry his hand open, make him drop it, catch it, put it in it. Like she's been using telekinesis this whole episode. And then this particular scene, she's decided I'm not going to use telekinesis for some reason. It didn't make any sense to me. That's what my notes say here. It's what my notes say. I'm just saying what my notes say, guys. So she doesn't use telekinesis for some reason because like it's kind of like, yeah, I've always said telekinesis is called high wizardry in most movies because like you'll watch Lord of the Rings and they'll have a wizard battle and it's mostly just like them flinging things at each other and pushing each other with telekinesis, and it's like telekinesis is like the most powerful power that ever powered, and I'm like, and you have it, so use it. Why aren't you doing that? So anyway, but he does give it up, which is fine. Maggie comes home and she and Mel fight whatever demon's been there, and then Macy comes home. So because a demon just comes into the room. And I was like, oh no. So Maggie starts to like, and then Mel comes in and then Macy comes in and they're about to power of 3 the hell out of this thing. And then they find out that it's Abby. And I'm like, first off, why would they even hesitate? They've been power of 3ing everything else. Why would they hesitate to do it to this one? But then Mel's like, wait a minute, I think that's Abby. And it's like, oh man. And honestly, the thing that's trying to kill her is the thing that's inside of her. I thought that was kind of interesting, which, I mean, we kind of all knew that she had gotten whatever totem this was and it turned her into something, but I thought it was an interesting twist. Like, this show it doesn't get me all the time. I'm usually able to predict things. In this case, I think it's interesting that the demon inside of her is kind of trying to kill her. I thought that was really interesting. And we find out that it's because the totem that she got had Abby's demon form that had been previously stripped from her as a child. And I was like, what? That's so, wow, that's a really great thing to have. But then Mel's like all judgy and stuff. And she's just like, you should listen to your subconscious since it's trying to kill you. And like, and Abby gave her like the hugest, like, what the hell are you, what? Like, just like a death stare, just like the evil eye, just like the, you need to shut the hell up because you don't know what the hell you're talking about, sort of. I enjoyed that face. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite face, but it was definitely worth the price of admission just to have her give Mel that face, because Mel's like, I've been really crappy this whole episode, but you need to check yourself. And I'm just like, you are what? No. You know what? I usually say Maggie is the worst, but this episode, I think Mel was pretty much the worst this episode. Mel was the worst. Uh, Maggie was bad too. I will just note that. But Maggie fell to second place this episode. Um, so yeah, so we find that out. Anyway, so Antonio is a cool guy and is no one's nemesis. And I've been saying that since they introduced him. So I'm going to take this moment to say, I told y'all so. So many people were hating on Antonio. No, no. He even explains it. He's like, I come from a family of 3 boys, and if you weren't the loudest, then you weren't heard. And I'm like, yeah, I could tell that that's what it was. And I've been saying that from the beginning because he didn't seem like he was saying it to be rude. He was talking over people, and yeah, and he does that, and it's probably a bad habit, but he didn't, even the times that he did it, he wasn't doing it with like, a jerky way. He was doing it with like, he had a smile on his face, like he was trying to be playful and he was trying to, do stuff. And I understand that that could be taken the wrong way, especially because, he's a man, she's a woman. It could be, misogyny and whatnot. But once you hear his backstory and you understand why, yeah, I get it. And that's what I've been talking about this whole time, is that he was not the nemesis that he was made out to be in Maggie's head. That's the point. Then Maggie has a vision of being in bed with Antonio. And yeah, I did that. Nope. Why not? I totally think that she should. And here's the thing. I know a lot of people are shipping them and thinking that it's going to be like a romance and like it's going to be a relationship and stuff. It could just be that, they do it and then they're done. Like it doesn't have to turn into a thing. Like I know a lot of times in TV and stuff, it's just like sex is the ultimate thing. And then all of a sudden, like it doesn't have to be. Sometimes you can just be attracted and you can just have the sex and then you're done. And then you go your separate ways. Hey, extra classmate. Hi, classmate. I like you too. You're fun. Anyway, so Mel apologizes to Ruby. They share muffins. And I thought that was kind of cute. Honestly, I liked their interactions in this episode. I thought were good. I still don't sense the chemistry between them. That's just my own personal. I don't see it, but it's there. Like they were, again, and then that last scene is where Ruby was mostly very, very cute, and I don't know why. So they seal the orb away. Harry admits to his insecurities, and Macy is very understanding. And it's interesting. I'm older than my wife, and like I feel a lot of what he's saying. But they did get something out of his ramblings, his number 23 ramblings. There is a possible 5th dimension, and which I find very interesting. And now they're looking for a prison or a tomb where these creatures are all coming from. Remember that was my theory. My theory is that by combining the source with the tree, is that it probably unlocked all of these sealed away demons. Bam, there you go. Remember, because I had said that like two, maybe 3 episodes. I said it on my channel. I also said it on Kristen Maldonado's channel. And my God, I'm telling you, I got this show. Like they get me. They got me with the Abby thing and her demon form trying to kill her. Pretty much everything else, I've been pretty strong on my theories. I'm not, I'm patting myself on the back because I don't expect any of you to do that. But but honestly, I liked this episode a lot. I was sad that there wasn't a recap at the end. The episodes prior, at the end, there's all of the sisters together and they talk about like, did they learn something or what they just faced or whatever. And I was sad that we didn't have that this time. Hopefully we get that back going forward, but I don't know. So anyway, I'm gonna go through the comments now. What are we at? 35 minutes. So we're at 35 minutes. So let's do some stuff here. This episode has me conflicted. I agree, Christian. There were a lot of the things that I really really liked, but some of the things that I was very mad about. But I also liked that when these people were doing these terrible things, they also then felt bad for it, and they were shamed as they should have been. This episode actually made me like Abby, and I like the way they treated her so bad, and I can't. Well, here's the thing. If this episode was the reason that it made you like Abby because they treated her so bad, uh, that's how the entire second season was. At no point were they ever nice to her, even though she was continuously helping her. And I made that point a lot when go watch my season 2 reviews. Oh my gosh. It was always the most annoying thing that they treated her like trash, and that's what Christian says, like trash. And I'm fine. It's a good comparison. They treat Abby and Jordan, their only allies, like trash. Period. I did like how they gave Jordan his own storyline without any of the girls or Harry. Yes, I like that Jordan's getting his own storyline. I would like to hear more about the curse part of his storyline, but we'll see what happens. What I'll say though is that I don't actually see them treating Jordan all that badly. I mean, Maggie treats Jordan badly, but honestly, that's her own insecurities and her own fear and everything kind of getting the better of her. But nobody's actively treating Jordan bad, whereas they are actively treating Abby bad. So Abigail, in my opinion. So Abigail needs to find better friends. I agree. I didn't really like this Elliot guy when he was mentioned before. I didn't get that, and I was so confused about it. It's not about liking him, because again, I was thinking that he would be a fun obstacle, a character that could come up and like every time they're on the trail of something, he's also on the trail. So not only do they have to defeat the thing, but they have to not be detected and they have to not cause collateral damage because he's an innocent in the end. I liked the idea of that, but I think this show just goes so hard because it's not even an issue. It's not even a thing where like, oh, we're going to have this normal person. Like they are literally saying that if a normal person gets tied up in this, they die or are horribly maimed. Like that's what the show writers are saying. There is no middle ground. There is no, he's on the outskirts of it. It's like, if you engage with it, you die or are scarred for life. So it's just weird. And thank you to David. Thank you for the pat on the back. I really do appreciate that. It just comes from years of screenwriting and writing, and just being able to spot the patterns. So let's see. So yeah, Lennox Williams says, I wonder if Harry's broken back is some side effect of him killing Jimmy or because magic was gone for some time. Well, so there's two things. So I'm not convinced that Jimmy is dead, first off, because he killed him. But the tree had already come back before he had died. So he was wounded while the magic was gone, but he didn't die while magic was gone. It could be because magic was gone for a while. Maybe it severed his connection to magic, and maybe that's why he is starting to age more. And that could be it. Maybe something has happened where, again, they've mentioned it a bunch of times. I mentioned this earlier, but mentioned a bunch of times like, oh, you don't age, you're a white lighter, you don't age. And they've said it now a few times, which tells me that he's starting to age again, because again, if he had a bad back in the first and the second season, then it would make sense to have one here. But if he has one here and he didn't before, then there's something changed now. I'm not eating a gummy. So anyway. So I had watching Mel treat Abby and how Maggie treated Jordan. And Maggie's not trying to do it. It's a thing though, right? Like intent matters. Like Mel's really just being an ass. Whereas Maggie is like trying to protect herself and trying to protect Jordan, but it's like it's just ill-conceived. just in the end. So I thought the whole Harry back thing was weird. Like, what's the point of him keep saying that he's old? Exactly. And I just pointed all that stuff out. Let's see. I noticed some of you are like talking a lot, so I'm going to try and hit some other ones. Ruby looks like CCH Pounder. You are so correct. Oh my gosh, you were correct. Oh my gosh. Yeah, she looks like just a younger CCH Pounder. Wow, good catch. Good catch, Mr. Hootie Dean. Oh my gosh. Yes, you were so right. Oh my gosh. And very pretty. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Probably. So what is Jed? What are you saying, Jed? Probably an Uno verse from Piper and Leo's relationship. Since Leo is physically younger than Piper, he did die at 18. Oh, that's true. That is true. I don't get Abby becoming Overlord again just like that. I don't think it was just like that. Remember the last time we saw Abby was 3 months ago. So, there's been a time jump. So it's not consecutive. There's been a time jump between episodes 3 and 4 of 3 months. So I think in 3 months she could have worked her magic to get the people back on her side. And honestly, with her being a side character, it's not super important that we see how she's done it, just to know that she's done it. I would have liked to have seen it, but also it would have detracted from the focus that we seem to have now on the Charmed one. That was actually part of the issue with the second season, is that everybody had their own storyline and we were following everybody to the T. And, some stuff should just be left off screen, in my opinion. I was so annoyed with Maggie using her magic to get back at Antonio. I feel like it doesn't make sense for her to do this at this point in the series. Season 1, yes, but not at this point. Well, yes and no. A lot of people are like, she's grown so much and, she's a better person now after second season. I still haven't really seen it. Like, she seems the same. She's the same Maggie who at the beginning of the second season said to Jordan, and I will keep bringing this up, hey, I really need that job. Can you not go out for it? And he's just like, what? I need this job too. What the hell are you talking about? So anyway, that's just me. She doesn't really seem to have changed all that much in my mind. And then, of course, after all of the selfishness that she did in the second season, this year is supposed to be the year of me, which I'm like, when was it not the year of you? So, and that's what I said. Using your magic to avoid typing is for personal gain. Let's see. You guys are having a whole conversation about personal gain, so I'm skipping a lot of that. Justice for Jordan. I don't know what justice. I like this one, Jordan for president. Yes. Justice for Jordan. I don't see that he is not getting justice. The only justice that I could see would be if they write in a new love interest for him. And then honestly, if there's a new love interest, then his interaction on the show kind of will dwindle and go away, because right now they're only keeping him around because of his attraction to Maggie and the whole messed up attitude of that. But, because they're not even focusing on his actual curse that he has anymore. If they focused more on his curse, then he could have a bigger role on the show. And again, I think that they're trying to minimize both Jordan and Abby's roles on the show, and Harry's, to be quite honest, because they already saw in the second season that it was really taking over a lot of the show. They want to focus more on the Charmed ones. I'm down with that. I just don't want to forget these other characters that we've come to love. That's really my whole thing. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. So Crismo says, yes, Maggie jumped to conclusions about Antonio was really a step backward in her character development. I haven't seen any. That's what I'm saying. There is no character development. And that's the thing. I actually like all the characters. I even like the Charmed ones, but I have to call them out because they are all up in their own heads, and like everybody's an enemy. Everybody is out to get them constantly. And it's just like, it's a weird thing because when they live this double life and they're constantly being attacked by all these demons and stuff, and they bring that paranoia into their real life, then it becomes that they can't trust anybody. And even people who aren't their enemy, they're immediately turning into their enemies just in their own minds. So I like the fact that, you know, she was like, "You're my nemesis," and he's like, "What? You're my nemesis? No, you're the smart one. You're the one who's got it all together." And it's just like, yeah, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. Like they both view each other as the superior person. Uh, you know, so again, if you're only hearing it from one side, then Antonio's the devil. If you hear it from the other side, then, you know, Maggie was the one who vandalized his flyers. He's like, "What the hell? Who is this girl who's like trying to make my life terrible?" You know, so you know, and you know, and that's a framing thing. We're seeing it all from Maggie's point of view. You know, so we're seeing that like, oh, Antonio talked over her a few times, and it's just like, yeah, but also anytime that he's tried to engage with her, she's been a snot the whole time. You know, like he's just like, "Oh, do you know what your topic is going to be? What I had chose is this," and she's just like, "Sure, you have." And it's just like, well, from his point of view, you're being the jerk. Like, come on now. I don't know. Anyway, I'll stop because the whole Antonio thing is just very annoying, and it has been from the beginning. So I will move on. Um, mm, is Antonio a male charmed one with his brothers? Most likely not. Um, yes, Kevin, same. I never felt for Abby, but I do now. But yes, with the thing with Kevin, I mean, I guess it's nice that they're using Kevin as, you know, the trans kid to help with the trans storyline of, you know, the school and all that stuff. But it just seemed like he might have been introduced, but this was something that they did a bunch in the second season. And maybe they're just maybe they're kind of back on this whole kind of writing trend, but they'll introduce somebody. This happened with Ruby, this happened even with Jordan, where they introduce somebody and you're like, "Oh, this could be interesting." And then they go away for several episodes until they come back. So Kevin right now, I assume, is just he'll come back soon, but at this point, like you introduced him and did almost nothing with him. So I don't know, it seems like a kind of a throwaway at this point. If he comes back and he does something awesome, then cool. So we'll see what happens. Yes, I love Maggie, but she doesn't deserve Jordan. Yes, and Jordan doesn't deserve to be treated that way by her. So I will say that. Mel was distracted by personal issues. Well, yes, that is the point. However, then don't agree to do stuff. Like you can't say, "Yes, I will stand guard and physically be the only thing standing between you and death." But also I'm going to check out Instagram and I'm going to be not paying attention to anything. Like, yeah, I mean, I understand being distracted, but then like when I'm distracted and somebody says, "Well, will you do this for me?" I'll go, "No, I'm kind of distracted. I don't think I have the mental capacity to do this. I'm spinning too many plates at the moment." So let's hashtag Mel was not my favorite this episode. Agreed. And I usually really like her, but you know, that is what it is. Bye, Maria. I don't know when you posted that, so you know it doesn't give timestamps, but you know, eventually I knew I'd eventually catch up. Let's see. They treat Abby like coal in the later seasons, as Kevin says. Yeah, but that's not I don't know. That's not a good thing. um oh gosh. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because I think I was getting clogged up here. Oh, so I misread. I apologize. I didn't really remember Elliot. It seems like he was mentioned in the episodes before, but I didn't get that. Oh, he was in either the episode right before this one or the one before that, where he was the YouTube guy who was talking about it. He was one of the first ones to no, so I guess it was the last one. He was the first one to talk about Oman because he had the YouTube channel where he was talking about all of the ladies killing their significant others, running them over with cars, and he was saying that it was aliens who was doing it. So that's where they introduced him. So this was his second appearance, and that's why I was saying, like, oh cool, like if they bring him back, multiple times during the series, that could be a fun obstacle for them. Do you think that the source will return and take a new host? I think right now the tree is the source's host, so I don't think it will come back. Do you think that Abby killed Godric after recovering her demon form? I would be sad if she did, because I really, really like Godric. If you watch my Zero Ethics and Charmed video, you'll see that I really, really dug Godric because he stood for like the best of the demon people. At the same time, it makes sense that she probably needed to, because at the moment he was the one ruling the demons. So for her to take over, he either needed to bow to her superiority or she needed to kill him. And if all he did was bow to her superiority, then he's plotting in the wings. So, and again, that's like one of those really cool side characters that they introduced and I wanted to know more about, but also it did detract from the main stars. So we probably want to avoid that, for Kern. So that's just my thing. Let's see. So, if there were ever any mention of the girlfriend Jordan when he first came on the show, she just disappeared with no mention. No. There was mention because every time you saw them, they were like, huddled in a corner, like talking to each other with no smiles. And then eventually he was like, because if you see, like, there was one episode, he's like, no, I'm already dating somebody. And then, like, a few episodes later, he was just like, well, I'm not seeing anybody anymore. So, they showed it. It was more of a show don't tell sort of thing, as opposed to like him proclaiming anything. It was more just every time you saw them after the first time, they were always kind of bickering, and then all of a sudden he was available. So it was more subtle, and I dug that. It didn't need to be proclaimed, especially because I hope that Jordan and Maggie never get together. So, so there you go. Macy and Harry should get married at the end of the season. I'd be down for that. Although I think a wedding in both like back-to-back seasons might be a bit much. So what I will say is that I hope they get married next season, since we do have confirmation they're definitely getting a fourth season. So we'll see what happens. And especially if they, and I don't want to say it, it seems like saying it out loud might be a bad thing, but there's a chance that they don't get renewed past season 4. So I would probably hold off on the marriage and make it like a finale of season 4, and it would be a good ending if that is the ending. And if it's not the ending, it's still a good ending for a season. So I would probably hold on to it, but that's just me. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. So in Mel's defense, Abby was like Loki, which I've said, and it's kind of what I've said that. You're trying to steal my lines here, and it's kind of hard to trust somebody who flip flops back and forth. From Mel's perspective, she assumed after their bonding and adventures that Abby would have given up her pursuit of power. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I guess the issue would have been if you were expecting something out of Abby, if you were expecting her to give up her pursuing power, then you needed to have given her something like something else to do. But the charmed ones have a way of using her and then discarding her and then using her and discarding her, and they've done it a lot of times, and at the end of the second season that was the latest of many times. So like I thought, if we're going with the idea that Mel thought that, she would have stopped it, well, did Mel give her something else to pursue? Did she encourage her to do anything else? Not really. They said, use your mind melding powers, come with me to the future. All right, so now we're done. Get the hell out of our house, and we don't need you. And it's really crappy on their part. So I still can't take the defense of Mel. No, I don't like it. So yeah, so there you go. So let me see. So And I'm back. Short Zoom call. Well, cool. Hey, how you doing? Uh, good to see you back, Maria. I probably won't even be here for that much longer. We're almost going on an hour. I'm gonna try and stick this to an hour, and I am catching up with all of the um, comments here, so we're almost there. I saw Mel was doing more as tough love. They were hardcore flirting. I didn't see that at all. Mel definitely, now that she's really feeling Ruby more, the flirting has gone away, and it was not them flirting with each other. It's Abby trying to use flirting as a way to manipulate Mel, is essentially what she's trying to do. She's trying to say, like, well, maybe you should just come into the bed with me. That's not her really trying to get with Mel. That's trying to get Mel to come into the room instead of keeping her distance, because she cares about her own life here in this situation. She doesn't want to, die. And having Mel be watching through a scry glass in a different, city, who even knows where, because who even knows where they are at this point? But, they could be miles and miles away. Even if Mel can get there quickly, it's not as quick as if she was just in the room. so I still have never taken their flirting to be serious, in my opinion. So are the charmed ones going to start coming up with a way to imprison some of these new creatures instead of vanquishing them? No, they're not. They vanquish. That's just what they do. Now, if they had somebody like Celeste come back, Celeste might be able to come up with a prison, but then, it always became sort of like the Flash. I like I said, I like the Flash a lot, but there was a point there where they were using Star Labs and the reactor as a prison for the metahumans that they found. And it was like they would stick them in the thing and they would just keep them there. And they would just, like, they come back, like, like 8 episodes later, they'd come back and be like, so, and the rooms are like smaller than my office. Like, oh my gosh, it was just crazy. So anyway, like I don't know, it becomes kind of an ethical question, is if you're going to imprison somebody, then you need to have the capability of caring for them and dealing with all of their, personal needs and their day-to-day needs. They definitely did not do that on the Flash. They were straight up like just throwing people into a hole in the Flash. So that would be the question, is, do we want this to start becoming a show about imprisoning creatures? But if they are able to find this prison or this tomb, then they might be able to find a way to, instead of vanquishing these newer, older, prehistoric demons, they might just find a way to just send them back to the thing. Because my guess is that a bunch of these demons are going to end up showing up, and maybe some of them will be beyond vanquishing. That's kind of the thing, because you don't just seal away a bunch of demons that you could have just easily just killed. Like, that's not, well, then why didn't the older witches of, the times of old, why didn't they just kill them and vanquish them? So there has to be a reason why they were put away versus vanquished already. So it's kind of like the episode of Buffy with the judge, and everything in the story, in the history books and everything, was like, no weapon made by man can defeat him. And that's why they ended up having to seal him away. They broke him up into pieces and they put him in different pieces of the world and everything. And that's how, like, because they were like, we can't figure out how to kill him. And then, Buffy blew him up with a grenade launcher, because weapons made by man back then weren't up for the task, but now they are. So if they pulled something like that, where, like, maybe there's the power of 3 that they have now is maybe different than the power of 3 they had back in the day. I don't know. Or maybe they didn't even have the power of 3 back in the day, and now the power of 3 is the thing that can defeat these prehistoric demons. I don't know. I'm just throwing a bunch of that out there. But I hope that it doesn't become a show of them imprisoning, because, again, it's just weird. And Madness Arcade is saying that, to be fair, Flash doesn't use the pipeline anymore, which that's not necessarily being fair. That's saying, like, they don't do it anymore, but they did it for like 4 or 5 seasons. So it's great that they don't do it anymore, I guess, but they still did it for a while. It doesn't remove that they did it. So let's see. Maria, question from Maria. So what is your opinion on Charm's uh, poorly written attempt to handle self-harm and mental illness in this episode? Oh, that's a good question. I'm not even really sure if I don't know if that's what they were going for. I mean, and I guess that's the problem is that they were kind of hinting at it, but they did not address it. Uh, and who knows, maybe they will later. But also, I guess it's not even poorly written. It was just very, if you take it in that way, and I'm not sure if I do. I think I'd have to go back and watch the episode again, because really they only just kind of mentioned it at the end, and Abby said the line about self-harm. I don't know if necessarily this is a mental illness conversation, but self-harm definitely. What I'll say is that if the idea is that she is doing self-harm, and then Mel says, well, then you need to get your crap together, and then just leaves her by herself, then that is the wrong way to handle that. Uh, and I still stand by that. Like I said that kind of earlier. I was like, that was the worst way to handle it. She's just like, I mean, I'm trying. There's something in me that's trying to do bad things to me, and Mel's just like, well, I guess you should probably figure that out then. See you later. And yeah, so there you go. Uh, so I'm not even sure if it is their attempt at that. That would be the question: is what was their intent behind it? Because I can see how it can be taken in that way, but that becomes the issue of using terminology, because self-harm is a very particular thing. Like if they had said all the same stuff but didn't use these coined terms, like if Abby had said something like, oh man, there's something inside of me that's trying to kill me while I sleep, well, then that's not the same as, every time I go to sleep I inflict self-harm. Like, oh, that's like a clinical term, like it has a meaning, so yeah, there you go. I don't know. It's a hard one. That's a hard one. Do I ship Mags and Antonio? No, not really. Um, if it will remove the if it'll remove the connection between her and Jordan, then yes, because I want Jordan to have somebody better. But honestly, I see Antonio as a momentary setback, and like she might sleep with him and then realize how much she really wants Jordan and like all this stuff. Like I don't think he's going to be a character that sticks around, because I think now, especially now that they have kind of come to terms with each other, he serves way less of a purpose. He's not an antagonist anymore. The only thing that he would be there to be would be to thwart the relationship between Maggie and Jordan, which Maggie is kind of doing really well by herself anyway. So it's unnecessary, I think. So I don't know. So gosh, there's so much. Let's see. Do you think we'll get a type of episode like Angel Spin the Bottle for Charmed? Characters getting to play different versions of themselves. I think that would be interesting. I also like the Buffy episode where they all like lost their memory for a moment, and then they like were like, oh well, we both have accents, like Rupert and Spike, and they're like, we both have accents, so maybe we're father and son. Oh, this is so great! Like I enjoyed that sort of thing. I mean, we could. I think that's going to be something that's, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. It's hard to predict what kind of demons are going to pop up. I mean, but it definitely could happen. I feel like the end of the episode, the end of the season, the girls will learn their lesson and apologize to Abby and attempt to reconcile. I'm not sure though. I'm sure that definitely will not happen. that that is it. If we're going with any kind of trend here, they don't appear to be moving in that direction. I would definitely not say that. So yeah, Abby used it. She said, instead of sleeping, I self-harm. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So if she had not said that line, then we might not be even having the conversation of them hinting at actual mental illness and self-harm in a clinical sense. But because they did, there you go. Do you think that we will see some Mel Macy bonding next week? I think we've gotten that they're, Mel Macy, they're best bros and, they love each other and whatnot. I think we got that from the first few seasons of the new stuff, like episodes 4 and 5. I think we got that. So I don't necessarily think we need to like hammer it home every episode, especially since this episode was very much back to the roots of the second season where they were split up for most of the time. So let me see. So Mel said about Abby self-harming sounded much like something Piper would say. I don't even know if Maggie will start acting more like Phoebe. I mean, they could. I don't know. Who knows? I think, again, for me, the worst part of that whole exchange between Mel and Abby was that Abby says, I need help because every time I'm self-harming and I can't trust anything around me. And Mel says, sucks to be you, bye bitches, so that's really the worst part of it. Because they're like, it was just really, really bad. So Mel and Maggie were both terrible this episode. Macy was actually really cool. Like, Macy was like, I understand, I'm caring for, like, she cared about Elliot. Like, she didn't have to care about him, but she was just like, she saw he was in pain, he was trying to help her. She was, Harry was like, I have these insecurities and whatnot. Macy's like, I totally understand. Let's work through it together. That's what you're supposed to say. If somebody comes to you for help, you should be like, well, what can I do to help you? Because I will help you because I'm a good person. And if you're not a good person, then you'll be like, well, maybe you should go ahead and handle that shit yourself then. Which is what Mel said, which makes me think that Mel is not a good person. And I like Mel, and I think Mel is a good person. Not this episode, though. I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm going to have to compare the writers because I feel like whoever wrote this episode doesn't necessarily think that Mel is a good person. It's almost like if they hired me to write an episode of Charmed, like, no one would like Maggie after an episode of Charmed that I wrote, because I would write her the way that I see her, and people would just be like, why is Maggie like eating babies and like torching people's houses? And I'd be like, I don't know, that's just how I see her character development. Oh man. So yeah, anyway, that's just me. No, but really, if I wrote an episode, honestly, what I would try and do is I would take that character I didn't like, and I would try to flip it on its head, and I would try to find a reason for me to like her. And so, like, if I had a character like Maggie in my show, I would actually have her do a complete 180, and I would have her start really caring. I mean, because that's the whole point of, like, if you have an empathy based power, the whole point is that you're supposed to be able to understand people more. And you're supposed to be able to, like, wow, I see where I've gone wrong because I made this person feel this way and all that stuff. And I get it. Like, she doesn't necessarily have the empathy powers anymore. She's got more emotional control and whatnot. But, like, maybe she needs to have the empathy power back, and then she'll be a better person. I don't know. I think that they were on a good path in the first season. Second season, she took a complete dip, and that doesn't necessarily seem to be like fixing itself in the third season. So it stinks, but that just is what it is. Mel was not a good person in this episode. Yeah, and I like Mel, and she's like the protector, and she's like the good one. She's like the understanding person. Like, that's who she's supposed to be. And she was not that this episode, with anybody, to be quite honest. Like, she only really had interaction with, a few people in his episode, and there wasn't enough of it with her sisters for her to have any issue with him. But she didn't trust Abby, and she didn't trust Ruby, and it was just bad kind of all around. It was just not good in either sense. So let's see. Abby says, "Hey Abby, I'm sorry that Mel was mad. Was mean to you. I can understand Mel somewhere. I assume somewhat. Like, Abby kills witches in the beginning of season 2. Even if she helps them, that trust is lacking, and maybe it's just sexual tension." As far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember her killing any witches in the beginning of season 2. She herself is a witch, and she ended up running into the Charmed Ones because she was also being hunted by the Darklighter because she was a witch. So, like, there's a bunch of, that's the thing. Like, she is conniving, and she's a trickster, and she's all of these things. But every time they have asked her for help, she has helped. So, like, I think that's the thing that stands out the most, is that every time that they have asked her for help, she has helped. She has made sure that they get out of there safely. She has been a team player. And even if she asks for something in return, like, she's not just doing it for the best intentions or whatever, like, whatever. But, okay, so she killed witches at the end. Okay. Again, if you take it from her point of view, they've killed a bunch of demons. So same thing. Same thing in her book. You know, she's like, you've killed some of my friends. So why does it make me better? I killed some other people who are kind of like you, and you kill all my friends. So that's just my thought on it. But even if that is the case, if we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of the season 2, there should have been a whole lot more understanding since then. We've had a whole season since then and a lot of interaction between them. So I'm not necessarily convinced that this should just be a you know, because that's the thing, right? Again, if you meet somebody and they're killing some witches, okay, cool. Well, then you don't meet up with them and you don't join forces with them in the first place. But then they kept doing it, and then they kept working together and kept working together and kept working together. So I don't know what to tell you. It's almost as if you're inviting that into your own atmosphere, but then you're not going to invite it. Actually, I don't know, it's weird. But thank you for correcting me. She killed some witches. Well, like I said, the Charmed Ones have killed countless numbers of, and I guess you probably could go back and count, but countless for me, because I'm not going to do that. But they've killed a bunch of demons. So again, from kind of Abby's perspective, I've killed a couple of your friends. You've killed a bunch of my friends. So there you go. I mean, that's just the way I'm just looking at it that way. Well, yeah, she did some sketchy things. Apparently, so is Mel now. So that's my whole thing. Hi. Gosh, my son keeps coming into the hallway, and I probably should go here. Yeah, we've been going over an hour. So yeah, he keeps now coming in the hallway yelling about Pokemon, because that's how life is when my son is home from school today. No school today. Arr. So anyway, you know what, guys? Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I think I am going to call it there. There's a lot to discuss, but I think the idea that Abby is an enemy, I think, is the wrong way to frame that. And she's done some bad things. And again, from her point of view, the Charmed Ones have done some bad things. And honestly, from their own perspective, they have. And that's what a lot of this episode was: is that they are not the best people, and they should not be held up as, like, the paragon of goodness and stuff, because they're not. They're just not. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. We have channel memberships. You can hit join if you want to throw me a few bones for doing this and keeping it consistent. I'm trying to, at least. Feel free to hit that up. Otherwise, I've been your host, Aloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for having. Thanks for showing up is the line.